Welcome to the Optism channel, where we journey with Carmen to raise autism awareness and move steps closer to inclusivity. Join us as we meet community members, share stories, and explore initiatives that make a real difference.
Why Optism? The idea actually came around 2 years ago. During the height of COVID, I remembered, there was one evening when my son, Vince, he's 13, and he was diagnosed on the spectrum when he was 3. He said to me that evening, "Mommy, I think we need to help other people." And at that moment, I thought what he said to me was really quite powerful and very profound, but I felt like we were in no position to help anyone. Because as parents who have children on the spectrum, I feel like our journey is not easy. And I would compare that with the analogy of, say, we're swimming in open waters with ankle weights around our legs. And I was thinking, who am I to say I could actually help others when I feel like I'm practically drowning myself, right? So I thought about what he said, and I thought it was really meaningful. And initially, I wanted to start something very small, like maybe an Instagram account or a small blog. But I thought to myself, Carmen, you work in media, right, and publishing. So you really need to utilize your skill set to its maximum capacity to see if you could actually contribute even minimally to the community, right? So I started conceptualizing the idea, and I was very fortunate in the journey because I met with such amazing people, such amazing contributors, including, website designers, developers, professional journalists, editors, AI experts, and doctors, medical professionals, therapists, educators, and of course, parents who were so supportive of the idea. So we came together as a very diverse and vibrant community, and we started putting the puzzles together to build Optism. Now, the whole idea of Optism is really simple. Because as I've said, the journey of parenting when it comes to ASD children is never ever simple, right? And I feel like as parents, we carry that weight of childcare emotionally, financially, because everything is very expensive in Hong Kong, especially in Asia when insurance does not cover most things, right? And we carry that weight around physically too as our children are getting older. So with that in mind, I really want to provide curated content that matters in real practical ways. Not just about education, finding the right schools, or finding the right therapists. Even though these two topics are very difficult to navigate as is, I wanted to provide more of everyday life content, such as, where are the ASD-friendly airports in Asia that we could actually get support from, or the tips to finding the right therapist, not the right therapy, but the right therapist. To other stories like understanding ASD assessment tools, because it's part of our journey to have children assessed regularly, right? But what do these assessments actually mean, right? So we have content revolving around these subjects, but on top of that, I really want to provide positivity for parents. So we have really amazing interviews with extraordinary individuals who've been diagnosed on the spectrum, with professional NBA player like Tony Snell. He's on the spectrum, and he's a very successful basketball player. And he spoke to us about his journey when he has 2 other children also on the spectrum, right? Speaking to these people, and also, we have an interview with Maria Song, who owns Holy Cafe in Changsha, right? Who's opened this very neurodiverse community because she wanted to find career opportunities for her daughter, right? So I really want to inspire positivity for the community because as parents, we need to stay strong for the sake of our children. And so that's how we started Optism. And of course, we were very fortunate to meet with these AI experts, these graduates from Chinese university. And they created this artificial intelligence feature for us called Ask Optism. And the aim is really quite simple. We want to facilitate the whole process of research for parents because, we don't understand the medical jargon sometimes. And sometimes it's a really stressful experience to navigate the internet to find the information that we need. So what we did is that we actually built this artificial intelligence feature, which could actually provide instantaneous response to ASD-related questions. So in essence, that's what Optism is. It's really about building a community of parents. It's really about rounding up the experts, the educators, the therapists in the field, and hopefully we could actually empower families in their journey. Well, for one thing, inclusivity is not a trending hashtag keyword. True inclusivity actually involves awareness and education. And awareness for autism should not just be, a once a year, 1 month long initiative. It should be a constant year-round effort. The challenge with autism is that oftentimes it's invisible. There are many cases where this condition, it's not easily detectable by, just by appearances. But just because you can't see it, it doesn't mean that the condition's not there, right? So I think learning about autism and understanding what it is would help nurture inclusivity. Well, consider the child that you see at the shopping mall having, a bit of a meltdown. Before we proceed to pass a judgment looking at the parents who look very helpless next to the child, thinking that these are incompetent parents or bad parents, just take a moment to think. There could be a possibility that this child is on the spectrum, and the meltdown is a result of sensory overload, right? And the parents standing next to the child looking helpless, it's because they need to ride this out and let the child have the meltdown. So before we even proceed to pass judgment, I think inclusivity means that we should all take a back step and think first before we judge. Or, I could pass an example of, say if you see a man on the MTR, like mumbling quietly to himself or maybe shaking his head, before you pass a judgment and call him the lunatic and think that he's a danger to society, I think it's important that we assess the situation, look at what he's doing. Is he posing danger to others around him? Is he posing danger to himself? Perhaps that's his way of regulating himself when things are too overwhelming around him. I mean, for once, I've seen grown men in nice fancy restaurant dressed in a suit, and they're like shaking their legs under the table. I mean, yes, it's very bad for optics, but socially, it's acceptable social tics, right? I mean, sometimes we even talk to ourselves too. And I guess that's kind of acceptable, right? Maybe it's our way of regulating ourselves. So I think before we pass judgment, before people decide to whip out their phones to take videos of this poor guy, think about it. I mean, behind this man, he has a loving family, he has parents around him, and you're just not hurting him and invading his privacy. You're also hurting his loved ones. So I think being a little bit more kind and compassionate would allow us as a community to embrace inclusivity a little bit better. I would say hang in there, guys. There are many of us out there with 1 in 36 children being diagnosed on the spectrum these days. There are lots of parents who are actually treading very similar journeys. I think hopefully with this platform we can build strength by numbers as we actually we aim to provide support for one another. The journey is never ever simple, but I would say that to the parents with newly diagnosed children, ASD is not a death sentence. There are many, many of us out there. Our children are unique in their own ways, so we're all here for you. I think it's really important that we exercise a touch more humanity in this world, and try to really understand what lies beneath the surface. ASD, as I mentioned previously, is it's oftentimes invisible to the eye, but just because you can't see it doesn't mean it's not there, right? So before we act or judge, it's important that we take a back step to think perhaps the child that you see or the man that you see on the MTR, he could be struggling with his condition. So I would say that it's important to exercise a bit more kindness and compassion.